We are on filmsgonewild.com. Your voice, your omniscient voice is John Wildman, the editor-in-chief of Films Gone Wild. I'm not on camera because I've got a full team here from the film Banana Split. Everybody introduce yourselves.
I'm Walter Kim. I'm the writer-director.
Nancy Agostini, I was the producer.
My name is Jessica Chung, I play Alice Chen.
And I'm Ming-Gu, I play Peter.
Okay, our audience has not seen the film likely as yet. So Walter, you want to introduce us to Banana Split?
Yeah, so it's kind of in the vein of a movie like Before Sunrise. It's sort of an Asian American Before Sunrise, really, if I'm being really generous with it. But it's about these two characters who are strangers, and they're forced to spend a long weekend together. And through that weekend, they get to learn about each other. They discuss grief and identity and authenticity. And then they both sort of, at the end of the long weekend, they've really bonded, but they've also learned a little bit something about themselves. So they kind of bring out different aspects of each other through this experience.
I've been telling people that if Aaron Sorkin was Asian American, this is a script he would have written.
Whoa. Well, that's too much. That's crazy.
Because I think I remember doing a Q&A with him after Social Network, and they said there's no way that we can do this script in 2 hours of time, and he said they'll talk fast, and and because there are ideas, and I love the ideas in this film, and I love the fact that they're articulated in such a way that it's banter and we're learning about each other, but we're still not doing just meet cute shit. It's beyond that.
Yeah.
So I want to start with our actors actually on this. And when you back in the day, actors used to count how many lines they had in the script to decide whether or not that how good that script was for them and whether or not they wanted to do it. Here, you guys would never have stopped counting because there's so many.
Yeah.
So I want you both to talk about how you handle the responsibility of managing that, because again this is dense material, but you can't approach it like that. You've got to approach it where you're bouncing off of each other energy-wise. So talk about how you handle that.
For me personally, yes, it was very daunting reading the script and seeing exactly how many lines Alice has, because she just comes in and never stops talking.
She does never stop talking.
Never stops talking. Just tries to get Peter out of his shell.
She's always hungry too. She's always hungry. She wants to eat and wants to eat and wants to drink.
Yeah, that is me off camera as well. But in approaching this character, I think that, I keep saying this and I'll say it again, but having a scene partner that's so dedicated to this craft works so well, because even before we even started shooting, we would rehearse so many times together, whether that was through our own private Zoom sessions, FaceTimes. Even when we were on set, we would wrap filming. If we wrapped filming early that day, we would meet up with each other and run lines again and again and again until we really not only obviously had it memorized for the scene, but also to a point where it just felt natural, where we could banter with each other. So that was huge to me.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Jessica, who had a lot more lines. So, thankfully I had to kind of sit in the background.
You counted.
I counted.
You were able to count.
Yeah, 56.7%. No, I mean, like what Jessica said, it was just, for me, I didn't think of it as this is so much to memorize. It's just like taking it step by step, scene by scene. And because the script was just so lovely, even though as an actor, you just want to read the script and again, because you find those moments of vulnerability, also humor into it as well. So yeah, we just rehearsed a lot, and naturally the lines just settled in. Yeah.
Walter, let's go back to you. And I mean, essentially, this is a two-hander. A lot of shit's going on, but essentially that's what it is. And the trick with this is to not make it a movie about two people on the sofa talking about their feelings, right? And you're utilizing the city in a major way. So talk about that. Talk about, you know, in your head as like, you know, the thing of like going, well, yes, of course I have to these two, you know, inspire each other, and these two characters bounce off of each other. But I also just can't have, you know, I'm not making my dinner with Andre, you know, the Asian American style, right? Yeah. So talk about how you the architecture of that.
Yeah, so that's a good question, because, you know, I wrote the script not knowing exactly where the scene would take place, what they would be doing, but I knew that I didn't want it to be just two people sitting on the couch, because that's not cinematic really to me. So like Before Sunrise, it's two people that are kind of on a little adventure, you know, and so that's what I wanted to feel like. And you know, I said before, like it's almost like those nights you have in New York where you just don't know where it's going, and you just keep going, and you go to different places, and you have different conversations, and before you know it, it's 4 a.m. and you're, you know, smoking a joint on a roof. So that's kind of how I looked at it. I wanted to be a little bit more cinematic, because again, I knew it was just two people talking. So that's not, you know, film is visual, right? So I wanted it to be as visual as two people talking could be.
Let's talk about producing this thing. Okay, you know, and I love when I have producers, because, you know, people that go to films at the multiplex, they see producing credits, they don't know what the hell that means. And you can have a producing credit for so many different jobs, you know, and they can encompass all of them. They can be something very specific, you know. And in a film like this, like I watch, and again, I watched, you know, all the locations that we're scoring, wondering if we stole those locations or if we actually got the rights to do those locations. You know, I wonder about so much stuff as I'm watching as a filmmaker. So I would love for you to talk about how, you know, what you did to help Walter pull this shit off.
That's a good question. I mean, I guess sort of through my whole career, I always kind of think of myself as creative adjacent. So it's like he came to me with the script, and then I read it, and like I was his first pass of editing the script, and then, you know, it was when we were deciding locations, like he and I walked the city basically to like find places to go, and you know, maybe not all of the locations were exactly permitted, but you know how it is. You do what you have to do. So there's a lot of yes. Let's not go through closely through the paperwork. It was that kind of producing of like, you know, I'm washing clothes at night, and I'm also sweet talking somebody into like letting us shoot there. And Walter, I must say, is a better sweet talker than I am, but you know, it was like some sort of balance of that. So it was like, you know, so it was just like I was essentially all hands on deck.
So good director, bad producer, good cop, bad cop.
A little bit. I like to think gas break more than bad.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the look of the film. This is not in color, so let's talk about the decision there, because that's the thing that the money people will always go, no, do not do the black and white thing. So talk about the decision about shooting it that way.
So it really came from an aesthetic point of view, and again, it came from two New York movies that I really love, which are Manhattan and Frances Ha. I just think I love those movies. I love the way they look. I never think for a second I wish they were in color, and there's just a beauty in it. And so that's really what I was going for. I was going for that vibe, and especially Frances Ha, of kind of that, you know, 20-something, whatever, and you're kind of navigating your life. And so it was, I guess, a tribute to that is what it was. And yes, people have said, you know, well, if this were in color, I could sell this. And so it's like, all right, but I wanted to stick with black and white, and I'm going to stick with it. So, you know, I hope when people watch it, they're not like, oh, I wish this were in color. It might be an initial sort of block. Some people just might be, you know, immediately turned off, which is what I'm kind of finding. But I think if they watch it, they'll forget that it's even in black and white.
Walter, I never liked those people, so to hell with them, because it's gorgeously, it's really
well. That's
gorgeously
our
filmed.
DP Devin Pickering was instrumental in the look, and we had incredible crew.
Let's go back to our acting pair for the final stuff here. You know, as actors, you know, we're oftentimes, we have to look good. We're told we have to look good. We have to look perfect. We have to, and we're oftentimes killing ourselves, because we have angst and anxiety and insecurities or what have you. But when you're at the service of a script, your character is what your character is. And I'd love for both of you to talk from your own perspective how you handle the thing of releasing yourself and go, listen, this is how my character behaves, this is how she or he looks, this is what we're doing, and Walter keeps bossing me around to have me do this thing, and I want to make him happy, so maybe I don't look adorable or cute like I think I do, or handsome or amazing as I think I do, but if he says it works for my character, then it's got to, then that's what it's got to be. But that's always in your head. As an actor, you can't help but have that. I would love for you two to talk about, how you manage that.
How did you?
That is an interesting question. If I'm being honest, I didn't go into this thinking like, oh, I as a person have to look good. I fully went into this just thinking about Alice and really wanting to take care of her as a character. So that wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. Yes, there were some things that Alice did that were questionable or about outlandish or like embarrassing that I personally wouldn't do in real life. But I think just getting over that hurdle, I basically just told myself that at the end of the day, it's a beautiful script and it's a very human story. And if I'm too worried about me as a person, then you kind of lose that human connection. And I really wanted to be able to fully slip into my character to portray that authenticity as best as I could. So, yeah, I don't know if that. Okay.
No, I pretty much agree with what Jessica just said. Obviously you have to be aware of where the camera is. You have to make sure that your performance is for the audience, which is towards the camera. But in the end, like human beings, we don't go around thinking about like, oh, do I look perfect in this moment?
Yeah.
Like that's your ego coming in. And so if you're really in the service of the script, of the character, then that ego has to go out the door, and you just have to be really, just be present in the moment. And sure, subconsciously you have to think about the cameras there, but you can't really be thinking about that. So all of that just has to go away, and you have to trust yourself that you've done the work. That thankfully we had a great DP too, who was able to know how to work with actors. So
We're going to stay with you on this final question, because at a certain point we have a really big cathartic moment, and for your character especially, we see a guy who's been really just grounded to the point of, does he have a pulse sometimes?
That is perfect.
yes.
And then he has this major moment, and of course we never shoot in order. That doesn't happen. So sometimes that scene can be the very first or second day, and so you have to kind of figure out where you are. Talk about that scene for you personally, and how you ramped up to that. How what the challenge was for you.
Yeah. So certainly, we all have schedules. Certain days you shoot certain scenes, but that day I think we kind of went over time, and so because we had to shoot another scene, which is much more happy after that too. So I really had to. I remember that moment where I couldn't even in the previous rehearsals, I was able to be grounded and be present for that particular scene. But I remember the night was so late, there was so much distraction going on, even in the city. I really kind of had to fall back to my technique, into all right, this is something that I can't. Actors do this a lot too, where they can't really fully be alive in that moment, so they just really had to fall back on their technique to do it. And so yes, technique saved that scene for me, particularly. Yeah.
Walter, you get last question.
Oh, I thought you were going.
All right. And it's this, when you're dealing with a film like this, that is not hitting giant bullseyes for hilarity, or even serious or pathos or whatever. It's much more nuanced. That dance between these two characters it is much more of a delicate process. And when you're in the editing process for that, scenes that were, wonderful, as you're shooting them, sometimes they can be the most challenging to cut together to really show the magic that that you had. Talk about that editing process, to make this, like you said, to reach the levels of those Before Sunrise and those kind of movies that you were hoping to achieve.
Yeah, well, I mean, editing is one of my favorite things to do. I love the editing process. I just love getting in a room and creating, playing with different scenes and different rhythms and different performances. So it was just really trying to keep a balance and making sure tonally it didn't swing wildly. Like, their performances were pretty spot on. We tried some different things here and there, but I think for the most part, I wanted it to be not melodramatic. I wanted it to be just real, like a little more real. And so yeah, like you said, there aren't big swings and they're not like, slapsticky jokes and stuff like that, but because I wanted it to just be real. That was the tone that I was going for. So it was really just a question of making sure everything balanced out correctly, because like you said, we shot out of order, and so a lot of stuff was like, well, does this work together with this? So finding the similarities in tone between the different scenes was really the biggest challenge.
Well, again, the film is Banana Split. It's making its world premiere at Dances with Films New York. Congratulations, all four of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.